Okay, so just very quickly, I'll go over the uh, Dow Jones Industrial. Dow Jones Industrial appeared to have made an intermediate top, and we were expecting ABC retracement. So I think it looks like probably wave A is already done, and then tomorrow it might try to bounce and then probably end up closing at the low of the day, which is what I think might complete this ABC to the downside. But however, we may not get such a deep retracement. Um, it will be fairly shallow retracement, in which case the market is very strong, and then probably next week it will continue higher. And in the same way, the dollar is also trying to top out in the current area, and the dollar will start declining, in which case the index then can continue higher. So tomorrow we expect the market to open probably somewhere along the line, try and recover or bounce, and then probably close at the low of the day. If we look at the oil, then the oil has been rising in that minor, this fairly narrow trend channel, and we are now expecting an ABC retracement. So far it has already retraced almost, not quite, but almost 50%. And then if I look at it on a shorter time frame, then it looks like we've got a wave A down up to here, then possibly A, B and C retracement, and we are now doing the second leg down. So we'll finish up with the wave A, wave B and wave C. And in wave C, this might be wave 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So maybe tomorrow or early next week, we might find that the oil also bottoms out after possibly retracing 50% or maybe 61.8%. that will be around about 90. So we're expecting a 92 to 90 possibly before oil then continues higher also. So both equity market and oil seem to suggest that there will be further weakness tomorrow, maybe even early next week, and then they should continue their progress to the upside. And in the same way, if you look at the dollar index, then currently I think the dollar index is very close to topping out here. But on the daily, you can see now what we've been following is that we've got, I still think all of this is a flat correction, and a flat correction meaning this was the main move down from July high. That was the main move down to September low, and then after that we were correcting. So all of this has been correcting of that, and it's been almost, you can see, quite extensive and very, very long drawn out process. But in that process, we've got this larger wave A has ABC zigzag, larger wave B has ABC zigzag down. So the rule then says that if you get wave A with a zigzag and wave B with a zigzag, then wave C will have 5 wave move to the upside, which will then terminate, and then the market will continue. There's no limit as to where exactly this wave could terminate. It is possible for this wave C to be quite strong, and it could go much deeper. It could, the idea that if it's a flat, it should, broadly speaking, remain within the boundaries, but it is possible for this wave C to be able to go much higher, meaning that at the moment, if it doesn't top exactly where it is, it could probably continue and maybe go even up to like 82. And if I drop down to 4-hour chart, then this is supposed to be wave C with the 5 waves in them, and it's a question of just dividing this one in some way, so we are satisfied that the 5 wave either is there or will be there shortly. Okay, now there are sometimes some of these waves are not very easy, so you can't categorically just say this is it. So I'm just going to paint out a couple of pictures, and I'm hoping that they will all be in roundabout way suggesting the same possible outcome. So this here is easy if I drew a minor trend line here, and say that while that trend line was holding, potentially it is a part of a same wave. Okay, so then we would reason and say if this was minor 1, minor 2, then here minor 3, minor 4, minor 5. So it's a weird kind of a wave, but anyway, it has a 5 internal waves in them. So one would be is that we would put this number 1 over here, and then we would put this number 2 over here. So we've got wave 1, wave 2, and now we are starting in a wave 3. So when we're starting on a wave 3, we'd say that this is minor 1, minor 2, this one is minor 3. So normally when the minor 3 is done, you would expect a retracement to the downside, something like this, and then finally you would expect another leg up higher, and then that would complete this wave 3. After the wave 3 is finished, we then expect a retracement wave 4, and then finally wave 5. So that's what we would expect normally, and then broadly speaking they will probably be contained by this trend line, because that one is connecting this low and this higher low. So price will remain on the top and it is part of the same wave. But sometimes things are not so clear. If you look at the RSI, you can see RSI has turned down. So on this 4-hour chart, this high is probably coinciding with the wave 3. So when we count from here, we say all of this here up to there is wave 1, this is wave 2, and then as a part of a wave 3, you see a part of the wave 3 we say 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, like that. Okay, but this RSI on a 4-hour has come down below actually where the wave 1 started. So things are not looking very clean here. So maybe perhaps what we got here is something different, and I'm going to paint the second picture now. So the first picture doesn't seem to fit in because of the RSI, because normally in an uptrend you would expect higher high and higher lows in the RSI and also the price. You don't expect, for example, RSI on a retracement of a wave 2 to drop below the wave 1, because then that's a new cycle. So I think what we've got here is we've got wave 1, then we've got this one here possibly as an A, and then this one as B, and this one here as C. And in that process what we get now is we get a running flat. So in a flat, you normally know what it means, flat. We're expecting price to be range bound like that. Or if it's an expanded flat, then you'll get a wave A down, wave B up, which goes beyond the origin of wave A, and something like that. That would be an expanded flat. But here is a running flat, and the running flat, what it suggests is that the price comes down and retraces and comes down, but it's in the direction of the trend, which means that this trend is very, very strong, because it is correcting, but it's correcting in the direction of the trend. So if this is wave 1, then this is wave A, B and C, and then I put number 2 there. Okay, so then we are now on a wave 3. Now that would be quite okay, because RSI is suggesting higher momentum in the wave 3. So I'll drop down to 1-hour chart now. So starting from here, we're in a wave 3, and you can see that wave 3, both on the RSI on the smaller time scale, starting from here, you got minor 1, minor 2, minor 3 finishing here, minor 4, minor 5. So that finished the wave 3. Then we got A, B and C retracement, and then we had a final push up for a wave 5. So really speaking, looking at that now on the price here, this is what it looks like. It looks like if I put this trend line up there, then everything above that trend line is a part of a wave 3. So in that wave 3 we've got a very small 1, small 2, small 3, small 4 and small 5. So that finished the wave 3. Okay, so this number 3 I had somewhere, this one is wave 3 finish here. Okay, so wave 3 finished here. Then we had ABC retracement, wave 3, wave 4. So this wave 4 comes in here, and then finally you get this leg up. So that gives you the completion of wave 5. Okay, it's not even actually gone, so I don't know whether there is element of it bit still left or is it finished. But you can see what I'm trying to show is that starting off from the bottom, we had a wave 1, fairly biggish wave 1, then A, B and C as a running flat, which means it's correcting in the direction of the trend, so wave 2. Then we had a wave 3, retracement 4 and 5. So I think that would suggest to me that the 5 waves are finished. And even in this last one, dropping down to 15 minutes, you can see this wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5. Okay, so all of that, just excuse me a second. Okay, we're recording. In all of this, I wonder whether I switch the recorder on or not. But anyway, so I think this top is finished, and we have already started a new wave down. Now, if I could be wrong, but at the moment, using my best endeavors, I think that the 5 waves are done. So if I now put this trend line on, then that suggests to me that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 finished. If the price breaks below that, then most likely we will be now looking to come down. If however I am wrong in my interpretation, then maybe what we will finish up is we go wave 1, ABC as the wave 2, wave 3, and we'll expect a small retracement and then another leg up. So if I'm wrong, then maybe we have still one more retracement to go, and that will finish up wave 4, and then finally we'll get another leg up. So tomorrow what we might happen is that dollar index will decline between now and sometime tomorrow morning, and then it will make up another high. But I think really it is done. You see, if you look at it, see from here you go wave 1, A, B and C, wave 2, this is wave 3. So whatever we saw there is clearly wave 3, and it cannot be part, we cannot have, okay, so let me just explain. See, starting off from here, wave 2. So wave 2, you can see on RSI you got wave 1, wave 2, then from there we got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that finished up with minor 3, minor 4 and this minor 5. So minor 5 finished up here, and therefore we have a divergence between minor 3 and minor 5. So that is expected. So if that was a minor 5 done, so that's a wave 3. Then we have ABC retracement wave 4, and then we get this final one up 5, and then again we have a divergence between the wave 3 and wave 5. So I think with all likelihood dollar index has stopped, and we should really speaking not get a further retracement and another push higher. But one cannot be absolutely categoric, because sometimes these waves do fool you. You think you've got it and it looks like that, but then in the end they end up being a little bit different. But I think it is finished. But whatever the case, tomorrow I expect dollar index really to start weakening. Okay, so even if it sort of goes sideways and make a little thrust up, I'm not expecting dollar index to really continue strengthening significantly tomorrow. If it will be, it will only be just testing the high today. Today, for example, we had a 81.46. Okay, Now one more thing that could happen is this. Okay, so everything else holds up. The only thing that could change is, see, when we are saying this wave 5 is finished, it looks very, very small, okay, in comparison to rest of the waves. So what might happen, and this is the only way dollar index can go higher. Okay, so I'm going to do now is that this wave 5 is going to be over here, and what we had a 5 wave up is actually a minor 1 of 5, then we get minor 2 of 5, and in that case we'll get a minor 3 of 5 going up, like that, 3 of 5 going up, and then a retracement minor 4 and minor 5. Okay, so that is the only possibility we could get without sort of running into any other problem with the wave count, is that we have the fifth wave actually have a complete 5 waves to the upside, wave 4 and wave 5. Okay, so in other words, this is still 3, this one is 4, and instead of saying the wave 5 is finished, that wave 5, this 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 actually makes up a wave 1. Then you get wave 2 retracement, then you'll get another small minor 5 to wave 3, small retracement for 4, and then finally another 5, and that would then complete it. Okay, but in that case it is possible that we might get a dollar index going maybe very, very close to 81.70 or maybe 81.20, but we are very, very close. Now if tomorrow we are suggesting that the equity market do a pullback, then that would allow dollar index to create a new high, and then the dollar index will start coming down, and equity index will then start going up. Okay, so tomorrow it would appear that the equity index will remain weak and dollar will still, broadly speaking, remain strong, and it might create a new high over and above today's high. So today's high was at 81.50 approximately on my chart, but we could go up to 81.70, 81.75, maybe even 81.80. There are several fib ratios coming into that kind of an area, and also we are getting a divergence on the RSI. So for example, on the next one, if we get price higher high, but the RSI will fail to confirm that, and will finish with divergence on the RSI. So now on balance, I think the dollar index does have a possibility of going up, but only on the basis I just explained now, that the wave 5 will have 5 separate waves within them, and the 5 wave we see on this small scale on 15-minute chart is actually part of just wave 1 of 5. Okay, so this is the minor 5 waves to complete wave 1, retracement wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5. So we'll get similar kind of waves, higher high and higher low tomorrow, and then I think tomorrow it will probably will top out tomorrow, most likely top out tomorrow. Okay, so if that's a dollar index, so in that particular case all dollar pairs are likely to show weakness to some extent, some more than others, but they will, broadly speaking, possibly show weakness. Okay, and if we now go on to the Canadian pairs that we were going to look at, then we'll come back to some of these other charts in a moment. Okay, so the first chart we're looking at is a EuroCAD. Now the EuroCAD, last time when we covered this one, we had this strong leg up with the 5 waves, which is wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5. So since then we are in a retracement mode. Now in that retracement, I appear to think that this ABC is probably wave A, Then we got ABC back up is probably wave B, and then this coming down is the wave C. So ordinarily I think this one here is a wave A, this one is a B, and then this one is wave C. So probably from that perspective I think the ABC retracement is finished. And then if I look at this area, not very clear, but I could just about make up on this hourly chart. You can see that we've got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5. So what it is like a rising wedge. So rising wedge would be a right kind of pattern to start off with, because it would be starting from the bottom. So it's like a leading diagonal. Leading diagonal meaning it's a first wave in that particular cycle. So if that interpretation is correct, then we do not expect this current decline to take out that low. We could have deep retracement, we could even have almost like 100% retracement, but technically we cannot expect that wave, this current decline, to come all the way to there. So what are we doing here now? I think if you just look at this one, it's probably got 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that could be a wave A done. So in which case what we now need for completing this retracement of this here is ABC. So far we had a 5 wave down with an RSI over here. So now we have this minor trend line almost beginning to be breached. If we put it over here, it might not be, but okay, if I put that one there, so that trend line, trend channel could be breaching. So after the 5 wave, what we expect now is A, B and C, right? So we've already got A, we've probably got B almost done. So now we expect a wave C. So in the wave C, we might retrace some of that. Okay, so I won't complicate it too much, but if I was to put a Fibonacci on here, you would expect something like 38% or 50%, something in that kind of order. Okay, so the first leg up already done more than 23%. So in the next leg I expect it to go to 38%. So that's what I now look for is A, B and C, and then once that's done, then what I'm looking for is another leg to the downside. So I'm expecting then another leg like that. So we had wave A, ABC back, another wave down. So more than likely, if you look at it now, so far this wave has already retraced 61% or more than 61% of this rise. So if it goes up there and comes back, most likely will come to something like 78% retracement, I think. And in which case I would be looking for possible bottom in this area here. Okay, so there will be few things there. If you do a full retracement of this one, we're coming into 38%. If you do retracement of that one, then to come to 78%. Then we have this rising trend line, and that rising trend line is simply connected by connecting this high and then the subsequent higher high and this one. Okay, so it comes into play where the price comes and bumps into that to find a support. So we're coming back into that line. Maybe we might not get all the way there, but we will certainly come close. So the 78% on here, would be okay. You can see where that one comes in. It's reading at 3390, or if you round it up, around about 134 area. Where does the 134 come? 134 over here, which is a little bit high, but actually we'd say 3380 area approximately is where I think we are likely to find a possible in that area there. Okay, so that would make sense to me because we've had a 78% retracement. It is also a 38% retracement of that much larger move that we saw over here, of this entire move here. We come into 38% in that area. And then secondly, we have a structure where previously there was resistance in that area, so we could expect a support there now. So that could actually pan out tomorrow or early next week. So at the moment there would be no trade, but we expect now general development is that after the 5 wave we get A, B and C retracement, then we get another leg down. This another leg down, because the first one was 5 wave, we also expect the next one down to be 5 waves. It might not necessarily be as long as this, but it will have internal 5 waves. So that's another clue we are likely to get by the time we get to the bottom, to recognize that that is now a bottom. And then if that does offer us an opportunity to go long, then from here the stop will be below this last low, and it would appear probably something in the region of 65 to 70 pips, depending on where this low actually forms. If the low forms even a little bit lower down, then our risk will be reduced. Okay, so potential long entry for Euro CAD if you want to trade Euro CAD as one of your thing. The other possibility that I was also considering is that from this high, we haven't got a new wave up yet. So what we got is wave A, B, C, back up there's wave B, coming down as wave C, D and E. Now if that happened, then I think we'll be churning in this for quite some time, and I have no way of knowing which one it is. Okay, so it's quite possible that we've got a triangle forming here. Eventually when the breakout of the triangle will be much better. So if you wanted to trade this one, what I would suggest is that if we've got this down as a A, then ABC back up as a B, then coming down as a C, D and E, if that's what's going on, then when it forms this leg down, you can still potentially go long with the same strategy, with the view that when it gets to the trend line at the top, we will know what kind of a wave we're getting. Are we getting new, impulsive 5 wave and very strong and steep up, or is it going to be one of those A, B, C kind of a thing? Okay, just like over here we had A, B and C. So if we'll get some clue, and if we begin to peter out by the time we get to this declining trend line, then we know that there is high likelihood of triangle forming. And so far we've already spent on this daily time frame, we have already spent nearly 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks. So you can imagine we'll spend another week or two to complete the triangle. So then there'll be a lot of congestion, and therefore the euro and CAD will be, broadly speaking, matched, almost give and take, a little up and down shove, but broadly speaking neutral, meaning that their relative strength, they'll be matching each other almost. So on a 4-hour bar we've got so far 87 bars. Okay, now if we don't have 87 bars and say we've done almost like a 2/3, then you'll probably need another like a 40 bars. So another 40 bars would bring it here where I've indicated. Okay, so that would be sometime like end of February. That means basically end of next week. So whole next week we might actually spend time in this triangle forming this up and down move. So just for you to be aware of that, if you don't suddenly go up there and start coming back, then you know why, because if that's the case we should be turning out back down at the triangle, okay, at the falling trend line. But in the meantime we should have a long entry here regardless of whatever happens over there, long entry here, and then even if it pitches out there, then we've got like a couple of 100 pips possible. So that'd be a nice like a nice warming up or a taster with a real trade to develop when it drops down here, because that would be the completion of the triangle. Then we'll be looking for major move up, and that major move up, as you know now, won't begin until first week in March if this is a triangle. Otherwise we get a long entry and then we'll start making higher and higher low in a very distinct manner, and we'll get a like a trend developing like this. Okay, we'll be able to put a clear trend line, and we'll get quite impulsive, and it will take this red line out. It will not be a major resistance at all. Okay, so that's a Euro CAD. Then we have a pound CAD. Now in the pound CAD, because of the way the pound's been very weak, a lot of my counts are a little bit out of sync here. So I'm going to take some of these analyses that I previously applied off the chart, and I'm taking them off now rather than doing this while I was on my own, because you might say, well, that chart we looked at last time is quite different. Why have you changed it? And also for you to know that no matter how good you are in your analysis, there are times when you'll have to review to make sure that you adapt to new price data. Okay, so there'll be, I had up until here, I had every reason to believe what I had was correct, but now that we've made a new lower low, so this I was thinking as a potential first wave up. Well, we've gone beyond that, so it's no longer correct. So that's why I need to just take some of this off, and then try and see if we can get some idea of where it is. And pound CAD is a beast, because the actual daily range sometimes is ridiculous, and when you look at it in a normal sense, it's a very a price bar is just unbelievable. You can see it's just blue and red, and some of these, each bars itself is a massive. So I wouldn't actually trade this particular pair at the moment, but what could be possible, like today for example, from the low to the high is 150 pip. So for this pair to do 150 pip or 200 pip a day is nothing unusual, and hence you have to enter the trade on these pairs with a very, very small position, the smallest position you can possibly get, because if you're 200 pip out within a day, suddenly you'll be making fair bit of either money or making a loss. Okay, so I still think that this move up here, this one here, this is the lowest low we've had on a pound Canada back in May 2010 is the lowest low, and this going up here is clearly 5 wave. You can see this wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5, right? And then wave 5 probably finish up looking like an ending diagonal. So from that perspective, I'm still happy to assume, until proven wrong, that is a wave 1. Okay, now what that means then is that everything else is part of wave 2, and so the wave 2 hasn't finished. So from there is a wave 1. All of this thing here, I thought we finished here, but it looks like we haven't. So we are somehow still in a part of a wave 2, and wave 2 we should have A, B and C, like that. Okay, so after this high, this is the last lowest low. So one would assume that if that was A, wave 1, then we've got A, B and a C. So that could be wave 2. But then the rest of the pattern don't support a new count to the upside. Okay, so in that case, this ABC is probably giving us a small a. ABC back up somewhere here is probably giving us a wave B, and then we move along, and all of this subsequently is part of wave C. Now how might it be wave C? Well, maybe something like that. Okay, so what we've got in here is we have wave, this going up is wave A, then this triangle is wave B. Okay, so wave A here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this A in a double bracket to say it is a wave A of a larger degree. Okay, wave A of a larger degree. So then we've got A, B and C, right? So in essence I've got wave A up, wave B down, and then this is a triangle. So A, B, C, D, and possibly an E somewhere here. Maybe here or over there somewhere. Okay, so somehow this has to be a triangle, and because it has to be a triangle, we would eventually finish up with saying this was the big A in bracket, then we get all of this here as a part of a triangle, and that part of a triangle forms a wave B. So we would finish this one up with wave B here somewhere. And triangle, you know, takes place in a wave B or a wave 4. So it's a triangle. So we've got wave A, B, C, D and E, or this being A and this being B, sorry, this being A, then we get A, B, C, D, E. So we would go like this, A, B, C, D, E. So from there to here is a wave. Like that. So we finish with a wave A, wave B, and then wave C. Okay, and wave C is got a zigzag. So it's got a zigzag. Is this 5 wave up as wave A, B, and C in that particular manner. Okay, so then we finish up with wave A in bracket, wave B in bracket, and over here we should have wave C in bracket, and therefore we should really have a bottom in the we should have here wave C. Okay, so that's wave C. So wave C, and then we finish up with that wave 2. So I think in this area we should be forming a wave 2 bottom. So what that means now in summary is that we had, from this low, we had a wave A up like this, not A up, wave 1 up, then we've got wave A, and then all of this up to there is wave B, like that, and then coming down for a wave C to give us a wave 2. Okay, so I know kind of a little bit confusing, but basically if you ignore all of these others, when I drew the triangle is simply to explain to you how I've come to that, but if you ignore all of that, then this swing down is wave A in bracket, then all of these is a part of wave B in bracket, and somehow wave B in bracket has disappeared. So I'll make that one wave B in bracket. Okay, so that is a wave B in bracket. So wave A, wave B, and wave C. So give us wave 2. So soon as we find a bottom here, we should be going up. Even if this one now comes down a bit more, there is a good reason why we should still expect a bottom forming in this area. Now this pink, what you see in the pink, is basically where we've got this spike here coming down onto it, subsequently this spike here coming exactly onto that, and then we've come back into, and also this one. So we got 3 spikes, we got 1, 2 and 3 spikes absolutely on that line, and we've come right into that area, suggesting that we should really have a bottom in that place, in that vicinity. Okay, now in terms of the momentum, if I look at the RSI, you can see with the price on a 4-hour chart, even on a daily chart, we have an early stage of a diversion forming here. You can see this. It's not, we're not having to try very hard. We can see this very clearly because the price over here has been coming down like so, and yet the RSI has almost refused to make lower low, and instead it is actually making higher lows. Okay, it's not making higher highs yet, but it's making higher lows. So on a daily we have a divergence. On a 4-hour we also have a divergence over here. There, for example, whereas price making lower low, RSI making higher lows. So I think we are getting very, very close, and it's just a question of seeing where this ends. Now in the shorter term, okay, so we're coming down, and it could be 5-wave down, or it could be simply A, B and C down. Okay, we're not particularly fussed, but if you remember, the rule is that if you get a wave A with a zigzag, wave B with a zigzag, then wave C, because it's almost like flat correction, so wave C should have 5 waves in them. Okay, so looking at this now, it might, let me just try and see if you can make 5 waves in them. What I mean is identify 5 waves. Is that okay, so from there, this swing here must be wave 1. Okay, it looks like part of the same thing. Then we seem to have gone into some kind of a crazy sideways move. So if that was 1, then maybe over here we might have some strange thing happening, maybe something like this. Like that. And what that means is that we have wave 1, A, B, C up there as a wave A, B and C. So this becomes wave 1, wave 1, and then this wave 2 over here. Okay, so then we drop down and see if we can make 5 waves, or at least identify how far the thing has progressed. Okay, so we have wave 1, then A, B and C to wave 2. This is clearly wave 3. Wave 3, and you see, if you look at the RSI, then RSI is strongest on this wave here. So this might be, it looks very 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 is wave 3, retracement 4, and then we're in wave 5. And in the wave 5, wave 1, ABC retracement, I think this one we can say is a complete wave, wave 3. Actually, if I was to do this here, almost, and then also do this here at the top, possibly something like ignoring this little spike. Okay, so ignoring that little spike, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this one down to here, as wave 1, ABC retracement wave 2, this one is 3, this one is 4, and then we're coming down into wave 5. Now the wave 5 itself might also be a secondary falling wedge. And what that secondary falling wedge meaning, it may be it will look very, very strange, but it could be secondary falling wedge, like so. So what that means is that in the fifth leg we got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we need one more drive here to complete. And I must say it looks very, very strange. I've not quite come across something like that, but somehow I think this one is fairly clear that it is most likely a falling wedge the entire move. And we've got 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 5, and within the 5 we're also doing this minor you know, there is one thing that doesn't work out very well here. Let me just check the actual the length of this one. Okay, actually, to be better, let me do it with the Fibonacci tool. Okay, you see the wave, it would appear that seemed to make wave 1 to be the shortest. Yeah, wave 3 becomes the shortest. See, this is wave 1. If this becomes wave 3, it's almost it becomes the shortest, only just. So we're struggling here a little bit. What could we say about that is that this was 1, then if that was 1, then the only way we can do is this here, is this wave 2 comes down there. Okay, so what it means now is that this is still wave 1, like we said, and then we've got this as an A, B, C as a wave A. Then you go down here, wave A, then you go down A, B and C as a wave B, and then so you get a funny kind of a wave. So if I was to number them, I would get a wave A down here, wave A, then you get A, B and C. So this is expanded flat, wave B, and then we get wave C back over here, wave C. Okay, so we get A, then you get A, B, C as the wave B, and then C. So in essence, the actual wave count then goes like that, like that. So that's wave 2, and then you get this one as a 3, that as a 4, and then now we are looking for a 5th wave down. So how far have we progressed on the wave 5? So wave 2 here, this as a 3, this as a 3, and then this one as wave 4. So the last one should be wave 5, and I think that this is 1, this is 2, then you get let me just expand this a little bit. So you get 1 and 2, and then you get 1 2 1 2. Okay, so we've got 1 here, then get 1 2 3 4 and 5 here, so that 1 2 and 3 4 and 5. So this I think has done. It's done because this one here is a wave 1, and then this one here is wave 2, and then you get small 1, small 2, small 3, small 4 and small 5. So this spike low here is wave 3, and then you get ABC retracement back to here somewhere, and then the final leg down there. So, and then that has an accompanying divergence over here, not quite divergent, but maybe, but definitely you got a divergence with the other one. For example, on this one we do have a divergence on that one, and we now could be in a new uptrend. So in a new uptrend, you can see this is wave 1, wave 2, and then you got 1 2 3 4 and 5. So the 5 waves, then you get A, B, C as A, B and C expanded flat. Okay, so we now need to put a Fibonacci on this one, and if this is complete, then we expect A done, B up, so we should be looking for wave C to come down something like that, maybe 50% retracement, and then we'll be looking for continuation to the upside. So in that case, pound CAD could well be shaping up for a potential long entry tomorrow, and we know, broadly speaking, we're expecting pound to also start showing relative strength against other currencies, and namely US dollar. So I think pound has already formed the bottom on Canada pair, and we should be looking for potential long entry. Obviously we have identified a proximate area simply by putting a Fibonacci on there, but you know what we don't know is we've already retraced 38%, so we know that we should get a leg down to 38% area somewhere, but it might do deeper retracement because on the wave 1 you often get 61.8%, so we should be able to get an entry at a lower level, probably somewhere like a 54.70 or maybe even a little bit lower down. Okay, and that if this was a flat, expanded flat, then as you know we got ABC, ABC, so this next leg down should have a 5 waves. It might be very hard because the pound Canada, it's a terrible pair, you know, with this old choppy, so you know counting 5 waves on them is going to be a little bit of a job, but nevertheless you might be able to. The other way you can look at counting waves is just look at the closing line rather than a high and low of the bar. But what you see here now is if I put a minor trend line on here, I would expect price to remain within that, and that would give me an idea that we are still in a downtrend, like so, for example. And if I put a candlestick on, you can see that price should remain in there, and that's what I should continue down, and it should get to my area that I need to get to, and they should be fairly strong. We might even get sell-off part like this one as a part of a wave 3, but look for a bottom possibly forming tomorrow. On that particular cycle, see we had a lower low and lower high on the RSI, So eventually what we should get on a smaller time frame, like a 15-minute chart, is you'll actually get a divergence forming. So when this price drops and then price retraces and then price drops again, RSI will not be able to keep up. So on that basis we'll see a small divergence forming, and small divergence forming at either a 50% retracement or a little bit lower down. And then of course this trend channel will also help us. Or we might get some little complex kind of a thing here. So complex meaning A, B and C, wave A, wave 1, A, B, C down as wave A, then this could be A, B and C as the wave B, and then another drop. So we might get some complex thing like that, but for the time being I think we're looking for just the price to continue straight down to 50% or 61.8% and potential long entry. So that's my revised view of pound Canada. Then you look at pound Aussie. Pound Aussie, just to remind you, on this weekly chart you'll see from the low here is we have a clear wedge pattern, and we've broken out of the wedge pattern of this wedge pattern here, right? So we've broken out. So we got A, B, C, A, B, C, D and E. So that's the wave pattern finished. Then we got a strong move to the downside with 5 waves in them. It looks like now we have retraced this ABC back up. So if we were to call this 1 or an A, then this is 2 or a B, then we should be looking for some further downside on there. And this is what we see. We have a 5 wave down, ABC retracement wave B or a 2, then we got 5 wave down again. So that could be, you know, a wave 1 in double Roman numeral, wave 1 in double bracket, ABC back up as a wave 2, and we should be really looking to move to the downside. So what it means is that this is possibly wave 1, 2, and then on the next cycle again we got 1 and a 2, and then in a minor degree we got 1 and a 2. So really this pair could be ready for short. And you can see last time when we discussed it, we were looking for a short in that area, and we appear to have spiked into there twice now. We got a double top on a 4-hour chart. So we got 1, 2, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5. So that was the wave 1 down, A, B and C retracement, and it has retraced just beyond the 78% retracement, and in there we've got 5 waves. We've got wave A, B and then the C is got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And you can see on the RSI on the 4-hour we have a massive divergence. We got equal high, but look at the RSI. It has, you know, produced a divergence on 4-hour chart. Also divergence, well, maybe not divergence from the on a daily because we are doing lower high there, but certainly on a 4-hour chart we have a divergence. So really I think Aussie CAD is also potential for a short, and this would mean that the Aussie is even weaker than the Canadian dollar. Okay, so we should be shorting that one. And longer term, once we break out of this one, we are looking for a strong leg down, because if this is 1 and a 2 and then in the next cycle this is 1 and a 2, then this is going to be massive. Alternative would be is that this wave A down, then here we might have, although I don't think so, we might have some kind of a triangle forming, and in the triangle we'll be looking for something like this. And over here maybe some crazy thing like that. So then we get A, B, C, D and E. Okay, so it might then, what it might do is the price drop back to the lower level, then go back up for a final. So this would be a B if we get a triangle, in which case this drop is not a 1 but this drop is an A, then this triangle would be B, and then we'll be coming down. So for the time being we are looking to short this one. It is possible to short that with fairly reasonable stop loss on a target, So if I just take it down to the daily here, so here now, if you the price is right at the top, so in reality you just want to find a trigger for shorting, and you got 3 bars almost, you know, range trading. You can see 3 bars. So 3 bars is bar 1, bar 2, bar 3. So it's basically horizontal, but we are there now. Okay, so if you look at it on a smaller time frame, I don't know what time frame we look at it. See, look at the 15-minute chart. On a 15-minute, look at this candle here. You know, such a massive long tail and very small body, and then the next one is almost spinning top. Now I know it's a 15 minutes, so it's got a bit more yet to go, so I don't know exactly what kind of a candle it will finish up with. It's got another 7 minutes or so to go, but most likely, even if it try to go up, then it's perfect, because your stop can be just above, and you'll be looking at 20 people so stop probably. Okay, 20 people stop. You know, if you look at 30 minutes, then you look at the kind of, this bar went up and suddenly gave a lot of it back, and we are now at the lower end. You know, so, and if you look at our hourly bar, then you got a tail on both sides, and the next bar currently standing like a spinning top. You know, so any breakdown from there, so you could say to yourself that if you look at our bar, then this bar's low, if it takes out the low, then you're in. Okay, with a stop above there. So that'd be like a 30 pip stop. If this price continue higher, then you might be able to, you know, short it even at a better price. So better price meaning something like 1.04 1.048, and then your stop will only be about 15 to 20 pip. But I do expect that to top out. I think Aussie is quite weak, even though Canadian is weak. Aussie will be even weaker. And you know, this one is like a blue, red and blue, and you can either join at the lower level. Once it takes out the low of today's bar, then that happens to be 1.04 or so, but then your stop will be about 90 pip away. Okay, so either way, I think it's ready for shorting, and the downside is an absolute minimum. We're expecting it to come back to this rising trend line at the bottom. So from the current level, we are looking for it to get to something like 400-500 pip. So it's a reasonable trade if you did want to consider this one, and it will be slightly different because it's an Aussie CAD, so it's not directly related to say a Euro CAD or a Euro Aussie. Nevertheless, if you did Euro Aussie, then of course you're playing weakness of the Aussie, because you're going long on Euro because Aussie is weak, and if you're shorting this one, then you're shorting because Aussie is weak. So I wouldn't say you do Euro Aussie and Euro Aussie CAD, but if you were doing Euro Aussie or Euro CAD, then you could certainly consider Aussie CAD, although you've got two CAD. Anyway, well, this one can be one of the pair for potential trade, and it is I think a fairly good trade. If for example this one didn't turn out to be a triangle, then you'll be looking at a very strong leg like that and going really down. Okay, we are looking at overall, if you look at this rising wedge, you could expect it to drop to about 50% at least. So that means from the current level, we're talking about nearly 1,800 pip. Could even go to the bottom area here, because long term, I don't know the price is on the left hand side here at the moment of memory, but I think on the long term the prices are coming down from the top, from the top left hand corner, and it climbed down over here. So I think it's quite reasonable to expect, and this was the high. As it went up, this was the high, so we are now, you know, maybe doing some kind of a flat correction. So in a flat correction, we got wave ABC for this wave, and this one you can make it an X, or you can say this is A, B and C to the upside, and in which case this one should be powerful. This should be 5-wave development to the downside, because you got ABC, ABC, so this is the wave C, and it will probably come back to the lower end. and in that case, we're talking about nearly 3,000 plus pips. So I think this is quite a good trade. It might not look initially, but if it's a triangle, then let it be a triangle. Then we'll be looking to exit the bottom end of the triangle. But if you start getting through and it breaks that trend line, then I think we've got a long way to go. And I get the idea that Aussie and New Zealand are going to be quite weak. Probably weakest currency around besides yen will probably be Aussie. And then the New Zealand CAD, like similarly, don't have a lot of data on there, but I think that one also is forming this rising wedge pattern. Is a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5, which might appear to be a failure wave 5. Failure wave 5 meaning probably never reach to the top end of the thing, as long as that one completes a 5 wave. If you look at the RSI at the moment on a weekly chart, is looking like it's beginning to turn over, and if you put a trend line on a weekly chart, it could soon come below that to confirm a downtrend. If you look at it on a daily chart, then again you have this here, but you see the momentum diverging. Okay, so in other words, from here is the highest momentum in this cycle here, highest momentum, and then as the price is making higher high, the RSI is making lower highs. So there is a massive divergence forming in there. So my feeling is that most likely we will have had probably wave 1 up to here, wave 2 here, this as a wave 3, this is 4, and this one is finishing up with wave 5. And in the wave 3 it might be something like 1, 2, and then you would do 1, 2, wave 1, wave 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 as a wave 3. Then you come down for 4, and then you got final leg with the 5 waves in. Or in this area we've got 1, 2 and 1, 2, okay, so we got wave 1, wave 2, then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that completes what does it complete? It completes, okay, I think what it is this. When you're looking at these triangles, they don't have 5 waves, they have ABCs. Okay, so here for example, from the bottom we got ABC, ABC back, then you got A, B and C, ABC back, and you get A, B and C. That's what happens. So in a triangle, in a rising wedge, you don't get 5 waves necessarily. So this is why this could be A, this could be B, and this is C. And in a C we got a leading diagonal of small a, small b and small c. So New Zealand CAD is not just as clear as the Aussie CAD, but that too is potentially a short. And you can see on the RSI it is now making its way down, even though the price has only come down just by a short, i.e. on this daily chart we've got this is the today's bar. So we got yesterday it sold off quite heavy, and the day before it formed a topping bar. Topping bar meaning a bar that has a wick on both sides, and it tried to go up but it couldn't really close much above the previous day's range. And then the next day it had a sell-off, and then today it's almost like a pause bar. So if you break below, then that will be like a blue bar was just a pause. If you drop down to smaller time frame, like say 1 hour, then you can see in a 1 hour you got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the 5 wave down, we're looking for A, B and C. Okay, so if you put a Fibonacci on here, then it looks like in this process we got A, B and C as the B, and we're probably going up to form the final leg. So we could be looking for, if it gets to 0.8530, 0.8530, we could be looking for shorting that one. And shorting that one meaning it will be wave 1, this will be 2, and we'll be looking for wave 3 starting off, and your initial stop will be just above the high, and depending on where we get an entry, maybe a 60 pip or so possible stop. So that's an acceptable stop with the view that it's going to go, it's going to go, well, certainly come back into the bottom of the rising trend channel, but eventually that rising trend channel will break and we will be coming all the way to this and maybe lower. Okay, so again another potentially a big trade possibly to look at, but out of the two, Aussie is weaker, so it's obviously better to short Aussie Canada rather than New Zealand Canada. Okay, so those are the basic Canadian pairs. There is a Canadian yen we looked at yesterday, but it's still in a process of retracing, and there is some further downside on the retracement, I think, or we'll do some complex side, but because Canadian is weak also, I think we will see a further leg to the downside, but we are not looking to trade that, so we're looking for bottom to form on that, which we will consider with the other yen pairs. Okay, so quickly now, on the US dollar Canadian, I've got a lot of lines in there, but if you just excuse some of those lines, maybe in fact I will take one or two of them off. That's a blue one, so which is the pink one? No. Okay, so on that one I can take off 78. Okay, so you can see here that we had this strong sell-off, and we're doing A, B and C to the upside, and in a wave A we had ABC zigzag, and in a retracement we had ABC retracement. So we are now trying to see if we complete this wave C, and because wave A had a zigzag, wave C should have a zigzag. Okay, so in that zigzag we've got wave A, wave B, and trying to finish off wave C, and within that wave C we've also got A, B and C going, and got a minor trend channel. So if that trend channel breaks, then most likely US Canadian will also be topping in that area, but it might have a bit more further upside to go, because this could be 1, 2. If you look at the RSI, highest one there, so it suggests that maybe this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, in which case we will break down a little bit, wave 4, and then make another final push. So tomorrow I think the dollar index will top, and Canadian dollar will also top with it. Exactly where it will top, at the moment today's high, for example, already was at 1.02, so it is possible that it might actually make another thrust higher, and I think the upper end we're looking at is a 1.025 to 1.026, but maybe if it doesn't get all the way there, then we are looking for 1.0225. Okay, 1.0225, or it might do a little bit higher high, but I think that should be topping. And if you look at the RSI, then at the moment on this 4-hour chart, the highest RSI is there. So when we have a retracement down and then it goes back up, we should get a divergence on 4-hour, and then we'll be very, very close to the top being formed. And I think that top will probably be in tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Monday will form the top on dollar Canada. And if that does happen, then we've recognized the Aussie and New Zealand are already weak against the Canada. We've also realized that pound is going to be stronger against Canada, and so will the euro. So the only thing, when this one comes down, that means the US dollar is weak. So if the US dollar is weak, then I think next week we could see quite a strong move to the downside for dollar index, and dollar will be weak. So if the dollar is weak, then the weakest currency intermediate to long term will be yen, then the US dollar, and then possibly Aussie and New Zealand, okay, and then Canada. So in that order. And then on the strong side will still be euro, most likely euro, and Swissy and the pound. So that's the Canadian dollar already done. British pound, you see today, if I go into daily bar, on my chart at least anyway, you can see we've got a potential. See this? It's a strong, bottoming action bar. You've got a big red candle, then the next one, it actually, the body closes above the previous day's close. Although it went all the way down there, it's come back and it closed above today's opening, and it's also closed above yesterday's close. So my feeling is that the pound has already bottomed, and we were looking at pound Canada, and we identified pound at bottom on there also. Okay, so today, for example, even though dollar was still going up strongly, in the first part it did weaken, but then it's regained some of that strength. So the bottom is already in, and this is what I'm seeing at the moment, is that this up move in dollar Canada, pound Canada, it was a wave 1. In this case it is a wave A, and then I think we've got this coming down here. So wave A, capital ABC down, wave B, this one is wave A in parenthesis, and we're still having here wave B in parenthesis. And I still think that we are not going to see a collapse of the pound, but rather pound is going to bounce from here. And you'll be surprised how many people will get wrong. I may be one of them. I will be probably completely wrong and be proved a complete fool if we find the pound doesn't do what I'm saying and the pound collapses. But I think I have a good reason to believe I am right, because we've gone through extensively on showing why dollar index will top, where it's going to top. Secondly, we have based on the wave count on this last leg down is definitely 5 wave to the downside. It looks almost frightening to see. It's a larger dimensional of this leg drop here. On the daily chart we still have a divergence, because look, from here we have a divergence on the RSI, and we have a lower high and a higher low on the price on the daily, and then even on a shorter term we have a clear divergence. For example, you see, if we look at this low and these lows corresponding to this RSI, okay, this one is very no, it doesn't work out. Daily we have a divergence, but nothing else quite showing the same degree of divergence as daily, but that's okay. Daily is a good divergence. If you see a bottom forming now, we should be able to, on an hour chart, you see, if on an hour chart, if you put a trend line down here, somewhere down there, So, and compare that with the price. The price is trying to pop up. So if we, for example, get price coming up any higher, it will break through this minor trend line on the RSI, and that would suggest to me that we are ready to start building an upward momentum. So I think from that perspective, I'm quite happy that the pound may well have bottomed. One can never be categorical and dogmatic about this, but I think on a daily it has bottomed. What we need now is a price to confirm. Well, on a daily candlestick pattern, it is definitely a strong indication that that is a potential reversal bar. Okay, so if we get a follow through on that, then that means if we get a follow through on a high taken out over here, say price get to 152.80, then we are taking that high out. Okay, if we drop down to 15 minutes, then so far you can see what has happened is that we've done a price like that, and it's actually looking very much like the pound Canada. See, like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 possibly. Just check the length of that. Yeah, just about. So we've got a 5 wave up, and then we've got A, B. So we are in a flat correction, so we should see another leg down, something like that. So in that case, maybe again the pound dollar, if you get a pullback into 152 area, I think that would be an excellent good figure to enter long, and your stop in that case from there to the bottom here would be something like 80 pip or so. And where are we going with this? Well, longer term, based on my view, I would like to say that we will be looking to go back to retest this high, but if it doesn't, then it will at least be making a retracement of that. If, for example, I'm completely wrong, and then what happens is that the pound bounces, but it is only a retracement bounce. So pound comes here, retraces there, and then it makes a new leg to the downside. So pound then falls. So if that's the case, then we do a Fibonacci retracement of this one, and okay, we can delete that one, but this other one, okay, and say for example that it retraces something like 38%, so then it will be coming to close to about 156. Okay, so minimum I'm expecting pound to sort of come up to 156 or 157. Previously there was a support here, so that could become a resistance, and then the market could turn down. But if not, then at least 38% retracement would not be out of question, and it's a normal kind of a retracement. So that's what I'm expecting, 38% retracement. But if it works out, then actually we're looking for this one to go back and retest this high and subsequently take that one out. Okay, so we have a reason to feel that there is the bottom should be in that particular area. Whatever this is. Okay, so I think we'll leave it at that, but I think potentially bottom is in, and most likely if it does a retracement tomorrow, there could be bottom found. So bottom either using pound to go long or pound Canada to go long, or any of the other pound pairs like pound Aussie and pound New Zealand, for example. Okay, so that's all from me. Hopefully that's been helpful, and most importantly, we're looking for a dollar to top out. So you can see what I suggested. We've already completed wave 2, so during the night we might do an up move, wave 3 small retracement, and by the time the US session finishes, we should have topped out and we should be on our way for making the move to the downside. Okay, and if that happened, then what will euro do? This is the correlation chart, overlaid chart rather. So this is the dollar index rising, and this one is a euro coming down. I think the euro has already bottomed, or it might do a little bit more. Just like the dollar is trying to go up, so this euro might come up a little bit and possibly put another bottom in. Okay, so in that case, euro will bottom out, and then longer term, euro will be looking to start going up again. If you look at longer term euro, is that you have a rising trend line on a daily chart connecting the low of July and then the low we had back in November, and that gives you this trend line. So we have come right back into that trend line. Secondly, if you look at it here, September high horizontally is at that level, and we've come right onto that one. So we've got a potential support as a result of the previous resistance turning support. We also have a line coming up and meeting there, so we've got a price and time meeting together in that proximity. So we should be really looking for a bottom in that area with a view that will make a next leg up. If you look at the 4-hour chart, then since the high we've got ABC, wave X, ABC. Okay, so the other thing you note is if I was to measure this one, then you can see that AB equals CD comes into that area. Also previously that area was a resistance, support, resistance, so again now it should be a support. And then finally, if you do Fibonacci retracement of this entire leg up, we've come into 78% retracement that comes into there. And then on the RSI basis here, look at it on a daily, we're still in an uptrend like so. Not ideal, but still in an uptrend. If you look at it in 1 hour, then you can see there's a distinct divergence forming on a 1 hour. So if we get another small push on a price down, then RSI will not confirm that low. RSI will continue to produce this higher low and higher highs, and then all you need now is we're in this final stage here, and this is very similar to what we were looking at the dollar index. So we've got small 1, small 2, and then we've probably got all of this part of wave 3, currently 4. If the bottom is not in, then currently 4. Then we got A, B and C, so we should see this one going up a little bit, and then just pulling in finally into that. So we would come into that rising trend line we just explained from July low, and horizontally it's an area where we should be expecting a possible support. And then we've got few other confluences, and that is like AB equals CD comes and meets us there, and there are several other things to expect a bottom to be formed in that area. So tomorrow there could be an opportunity to go long on Euro USD as well, and if the Euro then begins to strengthen, then you can imagine what Euro will do against Euro CAD. Will line up for a potential long, like a Euro Aussie also lining up for potential long. So I think this is going to be exciting week next week. Exciting week next week. And gold, you've seen this chart now for quite some time, and when we were over here I explained that this was a triangle. A triangle happened in a wave B or a wave 4, and this one happened at the base, so it's a wave B. So we got a small a, then this triangle is wave B, and we did this wave C. So I was expecting consequently that once this 5 wave or wave C was over, we would then come down, and then you can see that we've come down in the fashion which has remained within this declining trend channel, and the momentum has gathered up today. So now what I'm expecting is that we might see an intermediate bottom in this area, maybe a small bounce, and then another leg down as a minimum. Okay, now over here in this portion we had A, B, C, one zigzag. In this area here we've got this small a, small b, and small c that might just form one single zigzag. Then in that case we might see a bounce and then another leg down, and that would give you the symmetry. And what I mean by symmetry is that we had a decent ABC, one zigzag retracement, and then we've had ABC, second zigzag. So we had in each zigzag we had a minor zigzag. So likewise here we get A, B and C, so that would form one zigzag retracement and then another zigzag. And in doing that, what it will do is it will reach to the level where I think we are looking for. I've been saying this for quite some time, is just the summer low of last year will be revisited, the 1500. But if it did this one that came down, retrace and did another leg down, then we will be able to come back towards, because we've come down very strongly, we will be able to fill some time up and probably then form a low from which the market would go up. Or it might actually, in this next leg down, it might even come down much lower, maybe something like 1480 to 1450. Okay, and an interesting thing is that this is gold weakening even when the dollar hasn't been particularly very strong. So that's all. I'll share with you some more later, but if there are any burning questions, then I'll address them now. Otherwise, we've gone on for a bit and I had some technical problems at the start, so we're running quite late now. But any question or comment, feel free to send me an email or a Skype, and I'll be more than happy to address it. Pardon me. So with your permission then I'll stop the recording here.